Granblue has made many of tasteful games, a plethora of content in each one, fighting, story, costumes, multiple things to choose from, etc. The newest iteration of games being Relink. Now I love Relink. I have 400 hours in this game, and honestly this game doesn't even need 400 hours. So why does it seem like they just kind of gave up on Relink? I want to take a history through all of the games, and even the anime of Granblue, and I've come to a conclusion. There exists a world in which islands of all shapes and sizes float in a sea of clouds. This is a world forsaken by the gods. This was Granblue Fantasy, coming out in 2014 as a mobile game with actually notable music composers that worked on Final Fantasy together, which is why I think the music was so good in all of the games. The game goes on for years, filled with updates, characters, events, lore, episodes, raids, costumes, and many more. 6 islands, 45 characters. Now, I will cut them some slack on the other games due to everything being a little bit easier to design in a 2D mobile game. 3 years later, we have an anime, Granblue Fantasy. Sporting Gran is the main character, with Virn. I don't want to say too much because of spoilers, but the actions of the anime precede Relink and detail how everyone in the base party met, and the link between Gran and Lyria. Another 3 years later, in 2020, we have Granblue Fantasy Versus. Sporting 25 characters in a 2D fighting game, half of these were DLCs over 2 different season passes, or character passes. With a story mode, the Versus mode, you can currently pick up the Legendary Edition with everything for $50, and is still being updated. Yet another 3 years later, Granblue Fantasy Versus Rising comes out. 31 characters, a new fighting system, a multitude of game modes, including Studio, which essentially lets you take characters, puts them into several terrains and areas, and you can do everything from poses to making tea parties with the characters. It was very interesting. Finally, bringing us to Relink. Relink was what everyone would call a typical JRPG, with obvious influences from Final Fantasy, Monster Hunter, and Genshin Impact. 22 characters will finish off the game, or so they say, and the game for everyone's purposes has a very new perspective on it. And here lies the problem with Relink. In the other games, there were a multitude of costumes. Relink just gave us colors. Everything updated for years afterwards. Holiday costumes, a smorgasbord of enemies, primal beasts, and above all, a much higher replay value on the other games. Once you're done with Relink, you're done with Relink. And very little reason to keep playing unless you want to just 100% complete all of the stuff you can acquire. The storyline was intriguing, albeit the power of friendship feeling. We definitely got a lot out of the game. The game has always been riddled with various bugs, although not game-breaking. When you can do 3.5 times the damage of a top DPS class because of bugs, people are turned off. Now, they say that the next DLC with Sandalphon will be the last DLC. However, this would be the first time that they ditched a game. While there is a first for everything, I see a continuation in our near future. The game sported over 2 million sales at $50. $100 million revenue is hard to pass up. Either making another one or continuing it would just be the logical choice here. Due to the linear aspect of Relink would be the real reason to make another one. That's why I think they're sort of giving up on Relink, because they can't make it a live service game like the other games. And this is actually where all of y'all come in. What would y'all like to see in a sequel to Granblue Relink? Not a DLC content, because that would be very hard to do a DLC content unless you essentially made all of the sigils mean nothing. I think the optimal game would be where people can come in and play with in-game players with like 10 hours of work, but also leave room for 1,000+ hours possible out of the game. Now, in order to do this, you kind of have to do a live service game, but if they did another live service game like Versus in the style of Relink, I'm curious as to everyone else's opinions on how they want to see that game come out. Relink has been so far the best game of the year for me, and honestly, all it would take is some thirsty costumes to be purchasable for this game to make way more money. In all of the other games, they have the summer outfits or a little more risque characters. So I'm actually curious as to see how y'all would like the next game to go, if there is one. Hopefully, if you like the video, subscribe for more damage. Peace out.